We have the curious case of his gravestone spelling his middle name with 2 A's when his birth certificate has it listed with 1 A. Many see this misspelling as another clue.
Just moments ago, shocking reports began spreading online about Elvis Presley. People claim his casket was opened, and what was seen inside has left fans in a state of confusion. Old rumors are rising again, new questions are forming, and people are digging up buried secrets. Could there be another truth waiting to be revealed after all these years? Join us as we find out. The exhumation decision. The morning sun barely broke through the Tennessee clouds when 3 black vehicles pulled up to the gates of Graceland. Inside each car sat legal representatives carrying sealed documents that would change everything people thought they knew about Elvis Presley's demise. The mansion stood silent as security personnel checked identification and made urgent phone calls to confirm the unexpected arrival. Within minutes, the peaceful estate transformed into a hub of controlled chaos as word spread about what these visitors brought with them. The lead attorney stepped out carrying a leather briefcase that contained court orders signed hours earlier. The documents mandated the opening of Elvis Presley's casket at Forest Hill Cemetery for forensic examination. The legal papers cited new evidence that had emerged from recently declassified medical records and testimony from individuals who were present at Graceland on August 16, 1977. The court had determined that questions surrounding the king's demise warranted immediate investigation despite the decades that had passed. Forest Hill Cemetery received notification that their most famous resident would soon be the subject of an unexpected exhumation. The cemetery director began coordinating with forensic teams from 3 different states who specialized in historical investigations. Planning meetings extended late into the night as experts discussed the delicate process of opening a casket that had remained sealed for nearly 50 years. The bronze casket's construction presented unique challenges that required specialized equipment and precise techniques to avoid damaging potential evidence. Priscilla Presley learned about the court order through her legal team before any public announcement could be made. The news hit her like a physical blow as she struggled to process why authorities had decided to disturb Elvis's resting place after so much time had passed. Her attorneys explained that the court found compelling reasons to believe that critical information about Elvis's passing was either overlooked or deliberately concealed. The legal grounds for exhumation met every requirement under Tennessee law, leaving no room for family objections to stop the process. Security preparations at Forest Hill Cemetery began immediately, as officials anticipated massive media attention once news broke publicly. Temporary fencing went up around the meditation garden where Elvis rested alongside his mother Gladys and other family members. Police coordinated with private security firms to establish perimeters that would keep unauthorized individuals at a safe distance while allowing the forensic team to work without interference. Cameras and recording equipment were positioned to document every moment of the exhumation for legal purposes. The forensic team arrived 2 days before the scheduled opening to assess the site and finalize their approach. These experts had handled some of the most sensitive exhumations in American history, including cases involving presidents and historical figures whose ends raised inevitable questions. They brought ground-penetrating radar to examine the area around the casket and determine if any environmental factors had affected the burial site over the decades. Their preliminary scans revealed that the casket remained intact and properly sealed, which increased the likelihood that whatever lay inside had been well preserved. Media outlets worldwide began reporting on the impending exhumation as official announcements could no longer be delayed. News helicopters circled above Graceland and the cemetery while reporters set up equipment along every accessible road. Fans who had kept Elvis's memory alive for decades gathered outside the gates, some crying and demanding to know why authorities could not let the king rest in peace. Social media exploded with theories and speculation as people debated what investigators might find and why this examination was happening now. The night before the scheduled opening, a small group of Elvis's closest living friends received calls informing them about the next day's events. These individuals, now elderly themselves, shared memories of the days leading up to Elvis's demise and the funeral that followed. Several mentioned details they had never spoken about publicly, small observations that seemed irrelevant at the time, but now carried potential significance. Their statements were recorded and added to the growing file of evidence that prompted this extraordinary legal action. Inside Graceland, staff members moved through rooms filled with Elvis's possessions and memories of his life. The mansion had hosted millions of visitors over the years, each one drawn to connect with the legend who lived and passed away within these walls. Now, as dawn approached and the exhumation team prepared for their work, even the most familiar places seemed different. The air felt heavy with anticipation of revelations that could reshape everything the world believed the day Elvis passed away and the hours that followed. The forensic pathologist who would lead the examination reviewed files throughout the night, comparing original autopsy reports with new information that had come to light. Discrepancies jumped out from the pages, inconsistencies that should have raised questions decades ago, but were somehow overlooked or explained away. The decision to open Elvis's casket did not come lightly, but the accumulation of evidence left the court no choice. Whatever secrets had been buried with the king of rock and roll were about to be revealed, and the world waited to learn what really happened on that August day so many years ago. The opening process. The forensic team arrived at Forest Hill Cemetery before sunrise, their vehicles loaded with equipment that gleamed under the security lights. Each specialist wore protective gear and carried tools designed for the delicate work ahead. The bronze casket that held Elvis Presley had remained undisturbed since 1997, and the process of opening it required precision that balanced legal requirements with respect for the deceased. Cameras positioned around the site began recording as the first team members approached the meditation garden. The initial step involved carefully removing the layers of earth and protective covering that shielded the casket from the elements. Workers used hand tools rather than machinery to avoid any accidental damage that could compromise the investigation. Each shovelful of dirt was examined and documented before being moved aside. The process moved slowly as forensic experts understood that evidence could exist even in the soil around a burial site. Hours passed as the team worked in careful coordination, following protocols established for high-profile exhumations. The top of the bronze casket finally came into view as morning light spread across the cemetery. The metal showed minimal deterioration despite the decades underground, a testament to the quality of materials chosen for Elvis's burial. Forensic specialists photographed every inch of the casket's exterior, noting the craftsmanship and any irregularities in the surface. The heavy bronze construction presented challenges for the opening process, requiring specialized lifting equipment to access the sealing mechanisms without causing damage that could affect what lay inside. Technical experts examined the casket seals to determine the best approach for opening without disturbing the interior contents. The sealing methods used in 1977 followed specific protocols designed to preserve the body and protect it from environmental factors. Modern forensic techniques allowed the team to assess the seal's integrity before breaking it, providing information about whether the casket had remained truly airtight over the decades. Sensors detected gas composition inside the sealed space, offering preliminary data about preservation conditions. The lead forensic pathologist gave the signal to begin unsealing the casket. The sound of metal mechanisms releasing echoed across the quiet cemetery as tension built among everyone present. Legal observers stood ready to document that every procedure followed court-mandated guidelines. Family representatives waited in a nearby building, informed moment by moment about the progress, but choosing not to witness the actual opening. The weight of history hung over the scene as the casket lid slowly began to separate from the base. The first rush of air from inside the casket was captured and analyzed immediately. Forensic experts noted the smell and composition, comparing it to expected conditions for a burial of this age. The preservation methods used back then included specific chemicals and procedures that should have protected the body from decomposition. Initial observations suggested these methods worked better than anticipated. though the full assessment required complete opening and detailed examination. The team continued working with steady hands despite the magnitude of what they were about to reveal. As the casket opened fully, the forensic team got their first complete view of Elvis Presley's final resting position. The interior satin lining showed some deterioration, but remained largely intact. The clothing chosen for burial appeared preserved by the sealed environment, maintaining colors and textures that seemed impossibly fresh given the passage of time. Specialists began photographing from multiple angles while others prepared instruments for more detailed examination. Every observation was recorded in real time as the investigation entered its most critical phase. The forensic pathologist leaned closer to conduct the initial visual assessment. Years of experience examining bodies in various states of preservation had prepared this expert for almost anything, but the condition of Elvis's remains still brought an audible reaction. The preservation exceeded expectations in some ways, while showing unexpected deterioration in others. Certain details immediately stood out as inconsistent with the official reports from 1977, triggering urgent consultations among team members about what they were observing. Specific physical evidence became obvious that contradicted long-established narratives about Elvis's passing and burial. The forensic team exchanged glances that communicated the implications of what they were seeing without speaking aloud. Documentation continued as specialists collected samples and took measurements that would undergo extensive laboratory analysis. The initial discoveries were enough to confirm that the court order for this exhumation was absolutely justified. What lay inside Elvis's casket told a story that differed dramatically from what the world had believed for nearly 5 decades. The examination continued through the afternoon as each finding was carefully recorded and preserved. The team worked knowing that their observations would be scrutinized by experts worldwide and could potentially rewrite one of the most famous death investigations in history. As the sun began to set over Forest Hill Cemetery, the forensic pathologist stepped back from the casket and removed protective gloves. The preliminary examination was complete, and the findings were far more shocking than anyone anticipated when this process began. Physical evidence that changes everything. The forensic pathologist began the detailed examination by focusing on the visible condition of Elvis's body. The preservation methods used had created an unusual situation where certain tissues remained remarkably intact while others showed expected deterioration. This contrast itself provided important information about the embalming process and the environment inside the sealed casket. The expert noted specific areas that required immediate attention and documentation before any further degradation could occur. Tissue samples were carefully collected using sterile instruments designed for historical forensic work. The clothing chosen for Elvis's burial revealed unexpected details upon close examination. The fabric showed no signs of the typical decomposition fluids that would normally seep through material over decades. This absence suggested either exceptional embalming work or something strange about the body's post-mortem condition. The forensic team carefully removed outer garments to examine what lay beneath, following strict protocols that maintained the chain of evidence. Each layer revealed more information that did not align with standard burial preservation over such an extended time frame. Medical imaging equipment brought to the cemetery allowed the team to examine internal structures without invasive procedures that could damage evidence. The scans showed bone density and organ preservation that surprised even the most experienced pathologists present. Certain internal organs showed signs of preservation far beyond what embalming fluids could achieve at that time. The imaging also detected foreign objects that were never mentioned in the original autopsy report. These findings prompted immediate calls to specialists who could help interpret what the scans were showing. The original autopsy report from 1977 became a crucial comparison document as the forensic team cataloged their observations. Discrepancies began accumulating between what was documented then and what the current examination revealed. The report described specific injuries and conditions that should leave permanent scars on skeletal structure and remaining tissue. Several of these documented conditions showed no physical trace in the current examination. Toxicology samples were collected from various tissue types that remained viable for testing. Modern analytical techniques could detect substances that olden technology might have missed or misidentified. The team followed careful procedures to avoid contamination while gathering samples that would undergo the most advanced testing available. These tests would reveal not just what substances were present in Elvis's system at death, but also provide information about timing and dosage that could challenge existing narratives. Hair samples provided another source of crucial information about Elvis's final months and days. Modern forensic hair analysis could create a timeline of nutritional status and exposure to various substances going back months before demise. The team collected samples from different areas, knowing that comparison between them might reveal patterns or inconsistencies. Hair that was protected inside the casket offered pristine evidence that had not been affected by environmental factors. The analysis of these samples could provide definitive information yet about what Elvis was consuming in the weeks before he passed. Dental examination revealed information that stopped the forensic team in their tracks. Dental records from Elvis's life provided a clear map of his teeth, including specific work done by dentists over the years. The teeth present in the casket matched these records in most ways, but showed unexpected variations in several key areas. The forensic odontologist documented each tooth carefully, comparing current observations with photographs and charts from Elvis's dental history. Certain findings suggested dental work that was never recorded or procedures that did not align with the established timeline. The examination of Elvis's hands and fingers provided disturbing evidence about the circumstances surrounding his demise. Fingernail beds showed signs of struggles that were never mentioned in official reports. The position of the fingers themselves seemed different from someone who passed away in the manner described in the official documents. The evidence suggested a level of physical stress or struggle that contradicted the peaceful narrative that had been accepted for decades. The forensic team bagged and labeled each sample, knowing that laboratory analysis would provide more specific information about the origins of these mysterious findings. Physical evidence inside Elvis Presley's casket told a story that differed substantially from the official account of his demise. Multiple findings pointed toward details that were either missed entirely or deliberately concealed from public knowledge. Everyone on the team understood that what they had discovered would force a complete re-examination of one of the most famous cases in American history. Family reactions and emerging theories. Priscilla Presley sat in a private room at Graceland as the forensic team's preliminary report was delivered by her legal counsel. Her hands shook as she listened to findings that contradicted everything she had been told. The attorney spoke carefully, explaining each discovery and its potential significance, while Priscilla struggled to process information that challenged decades of accepted truth. Her face showed confusion mixed with anger as she realized that people she trusted may have hidden crucial facts about Elvis's demise. The meeting extended for hours as she demanded more details about every inconsistency documented. Representatives from Lisa Marie Presley's estate arrived for a separate briefing about the recent discoveries. It was the responsibility of these legal guardians to protect Lisa Marie's legacy and her children's inheritance, making the investigation's outcome critically important to them. They reviewed documents that outlined specific physical evidence standing against the official cause of death. The representatives exchanged concerned looks as they understood the implications for the family's reputation. Questions about who knew what and why certain information was never revealed began consuming their discussions. Riley Keough received a phone call from estate attorneys explaining what investigators found inside her grandfather's casket. The news hit her with particular force because she had spent years defending Elvis's memory against conspiracy theories and sensational claims. Now, official forensic evidence suggested that some of those dismissed theories may have contained elements of truth. She canceled upcoming work commitments and made immediate plans to travel to Memphis. Her priority was understanding what really happened and deciding how the family should respond to revelations that would soon be public knowledge. Medical experts briefed the family on specific findings that raised serious questions about the original autopsy conclusions. The 1977 report listed cardiac arrhythmia as the cause of death, a conclusion that seemed to fit with Elvis's known health problems and prescription pill use. However, physical evidence from the exhumation suggested additional factors that were not recorded during the original investigation. The experts explained how modern forensic techniques revealed information that was simply not detectable with the technology in 1977. Legal teams began formulating theories about what might have happened in Elvis's final hours based on the new evidence. One emerging theory suggested that Elvis passed away under circumstances far different from the bathroom collapse described in official reports. Physical evidence indicated he may have been moved afterward, or that the scene was altered before emergency responders arrived. Another theory focused on the possibility that Elvis received medical treatment or substances in his final hours that were never documented. These theories were supported by specific forensic findings that demanded explanation. Investigators started reviewing statements from people who were at Graceland on that tragic day, comparing their accounts with physical evidence from the casket. What certain individuals claimed happened and what the forensic examination revealed were quite different. Some staff members who were present that day were still living and faced the possibility of being questioned again about their memories and earlier statements. The investigation expanded into a full review of everyone who had access to Elvis in his final days and who might have had reasons to conceal the truth about his demise. Priscilla spoke privately with close friends who were part of Elvis's inner circle during his final years. These conversations became emotional as she sought understanding about what really happened and why she was apparently kept in the dark about crucial details. Some friends admitted they always had suspicions that the official story did not tell the whole truth, but felt powerless to challenge the narrative at the time. Others expressed genuine shock at the forensic findings and insisted they knew nothing beyond what was publicly reported. The family faced difficult decisions about how to handle media inquiries as news of the shocking details began to leak. They could either get ahead of the story by making their own statement or wait for official reports to be released through legal channels. The challenge became controlling the narrative enough to protect Elvis's dignity while acknowledging that serious questions about his demise now had legitimate foundation. The family struggled to balance their desire for truth with their need to preserve the positive aspects of Elvis's legacy. Estate lawyers began examining whether the new findings created grounds for wrongful death claims or other legal actions against individuals who may have concealed information. The statute of limitations on many potential charges had long expired, but civil actions might still be possible in certain circumstances. More importantly, the family wanted accountability for what appeared to have been a cover-up that denied them truth about their loved one's death for nearly 50 years. Legal options were explored even as everyone understood that no lawsuit could undo the decades of grief based on false information. As night fell on Graceland, Priscilla stood alone in the jungle room, where Elvis spent so many hours during his final years. The recent developments had shattered her understanding of events she thought she knew. She thought about the funeral, the grief, and all the years since when she defended the official story of Elvis's passing against doubters and conspiracy theorists. Now, evidence suggests that the doubters may have been closer to the truth than anyone wanted to admit. The question that haunted her most was not just what really happened to Elvis, but who knew the truth all along and chose to keep it hidden. What this discovery means for Elvis's legacy. The forensic findings from Elvis Presley's casket forced historians and biographers to reconsider their written accounts of his final days. Books published over 5 decades had repeated the same basic narrative about how the king of rock and roll passed alone in his bathroom at Graceland. Now, physical evidence suggested this story may have been constructed rather than factual. The challenge became separating verified facts from speculation, while acknowledging that accepted truths about August 16, 1977, no longer held up under forensic scrutiny. Medical examiners who were not involved in the original autopsy reviewed the new findings with fresh perspectives. These independent experts identified multiple red flags that should have triggered deeper investigation decades ago. The original medical examiner's conclusions appeared increasingly questionable when compared against what modern forensic analysis revealed. Professional organizations began internal discussions about how such significant discrepancies could have gone unnoticed or unchallenged for so long. The case became a teaching example of how external pressures and assumptions could compromise even seemingly straightforward investigations. Conspiracy theories about Elvis's demise had circulated since then, ranging from believable to absurd. The forensic evidence now validated some aspects of theories that were previously dismissed as fantasy. Theorists who claimed Elvis did not pass away the way officials reported felt vindicated, though many of their specific claims remained unproven. The challenge became separating legitimate questions raised by physical evidence from wild speculation that had no forensic support. Investigators had to carefully explain which theories the new findings supported and which ones remained pure fiction. The impact on Graceland tourism became immediate, as visitors wanted to see the home where mysterious events apparently unfolded in Elvis's final hours. Tour guides faced questions about locations and details that were never part of standard presentations. Estate managers worked to balance increased public interest with respect for the ongoing investigation and family privacy. Some areas of the mansion that were always off-limits during tours became focal points of speculation about what they might reveal. The estate had to decide whether to address the forensic findings directly or maintain their traditional focus on celebrating Elvis's life and career. Law enforcement officials in Memphis faced pressure to reopen the investigation into Elvis's demise as a potential crime scene. The forensic evidence suggested circumstances that could indicate everything from negligent medical care to more sinister possibilities. However, the passage of nearly 50 years created enormous challenges for any criminal investigation. Most people who were present at Graceland that day were deceased. Physical evidence from the original scene was long gone, and memories had become unreliable over decades. Prosecutors had to determine whether pursuing criminal charges was even possible, given these limitations. The pharmaceutical industry faced renewed scrutiny about prescription practices in the 1970s and the role of substance use in Elvis's demise. The forensic toxicology results revealed substances and dosage levels that raised questions about which doctors prescribed what medications and whether proper protocols were followed. Some medications detected in tissue samples were never mentioned in the original autopsy toxicology report. Medical licensing boards began reviewing historical records of doctors who treated Elvis, though most were now deceased or retired. Elvis impersonators and tribute artists found their performances affected by the new information about his demise. Many had built careers on celebrating Elvis's memory and maintaining his legacy as it was understood for decades. The forensic revelations forced them to consider how much of the Elvis story they thought they knew was actually true. Some tribute artists incorporated acknowledgement of the mysteries into their shows, while others preferred to focus on the music and happier aspects of Elvis's life. The entertainment industry surrounding Elvis's memory had to adapt to a more complicated and uncertain historical narrative. Academic researchers gained access to forensic data that provided unusual information about Elvis's physical condition and lifestyle during his final years. Universities began studies examining everything from his documented health problems to the pharmaceutical interactions that may have contributed to his end. The research extended beyond just Elvis to broader questions about celebrity culture, medical ethics, and how fame affected physical and mental health. Scholarly papers started appearing in medical and forensic journals analyzing the case and contributing to understanding of similar situations involving other public figures. International media coverage of the forensic findings reached audiences who may have had only basic knowledge of Elvis Presley. News organizations explained both the original story of his passing and the new evidence that called that story into question. Cultural differences affected how various countries interpreted the revelations, with some viewing it as a tragic mystery and others seeing it as evidence of American excess and conspiracy. The case became a global conversation about truth, legacy, and the responsibility of those surrounding famous individuals to protect rather than exploit them. The biggest questions remained frustratingly unanswered despite everything the forensic examination revealed. Who knew the true circumstances of Elvis's demise in 1977 and made the decision to present a different story to the world? What exactly happened in those final hours that someone felt needed to be concealed or altered? Whether Elvis might have survived if proper medical intervention had occurred, or if the situation was beyond saving, regardless of what was done. Why would people who could have spoken the truth chose silence for decades? The forensic team prepared their final report knowing it would be dissected by experts worldwide and debated for years to come. They had answered some questions definitively while raising dozens more that may never be fully resolved. The evidence inside Elvis Presley's casket had proven that the official story of his passing was incomplete at best and deliberately deceptive at worst. What remained unclear was whether the full truth would ever emerge, or if some secrets go with the people who kept them. The king of rock and roll rested again in his casket at Forest Hill Cemetery. But the mystery of his final hours was now deeper and more troubling than we thought possible. The world waited as investigators compiled their final findings into official reports that would be released to the public. The truth about Elvis Presley's passing remained locked in evidence files and laboratory results that would take months to fully analyze. Whatever secrets lay hidden for nearly 50 years were finally beginning to surface. But the complete story of what happened to the king might never be fully known. Do you think any member of Elvis Presley's family had a hand in concealing the truth? If yes, who do you think it was? Let us know your views in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe to this channel. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.